spring. It's was
Was it a long trip?
long trip. I think my brother picked something up was it this first day or second? He either picked it up at the airport or the first day we were in Vegas, and then he kind of went down and he was out for like all of Saturday. I was kind of feeling like crap, and then Sunday hit and I felt worse, and then Monday I was dead.
Oh
I was
man.
definitely ill, but yeah, we're here though, so
Yeah,
we're
awesome,
here.
man. I'm glad that at least you had a safe trip and um,
Yeah, yeah, it
it
was
was a
good.
good
It was a good
time
time.
at least.
Yeah,
Um, well, cool. I mean, if you want, we can kind of just hop into it. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah. Works for me.
if there was anything that was on your mind beforehand. I know that as of right now, we still have snow on the ground here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at pictures of the Panhandle and like parts of I-10 that were just completely under snow coverage. Like
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna say,
crazy. It looked like a blizzard.
yeah. It started coming down last night, but I got a little bit of drone footage of it today and was able to kind of like, you know, show at least the neighborhood
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah.
Uh,
That's kind of cool though. I mean, the last time Florida got snow, 90s, 80s.
yeah, we had gotten some snow flurries, but it didn't stick. It wasn't like this. Like this is like on the ground. We got at least an inch or so, so it
Wow,
not too bad.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, we had school canceled today because all the bridges were frozen over, and they don't want people driving on the bridges if they're frozen. So
Yeah, mess up all the construction they're constantly doing.
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Oh,
I'm down to hop in. Looking forward to chatting about LVO and answering whatever questions you might have.
yeah, man. Actually, I think the first question I wouldn't mind asking is like for you, how'd it go? Like, what was it like getting there and kind of then getting to your first table? What was that kind of like? Like check in
Okay.
and then meeting people, anything like that?
Well, I was asked by LJ. He was asking like a few of the players that were in the invitational because my brother and I had actually flown in Wednesday. And we did so as kind of like an early birthday thing for my brother because his birthday's in 3 days, but we weren't going to be able to do anything on that day, so we were just going to kind of like move it a week forward. So he came, played in the GT. We came early, got in like Wednesday night, explored Vegas, and then I was asked, "Hey, do you want to help stream?" Because Imperial Goldfish is doing the stream, and they're looking for a couple people to volunteer to help cast. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds really cool." So myself and Richard Lavery did some casting. I think we did 3 rounds, and then by the time the fourth round rolled around for the GT, which was on Friday, I bounced out because I needed to get some rest and get prepped for the Invitational, which was Saturday and Sunday. So the couple days leading up to the Invitational were really fun. Did a lot of cool social activities. We went and did the Warhammer, the 40K VR, where you'd be a space marine and you're like in a squad of 4 to 8, depending on how many friends you got with you, and you're just I mean it's cool. You're walking around this room and you're completely immersed in this 40K world, and there's like Tyranids running at you everywhere, and you're just getting swarmed. So it was a lot of fun. We did some cool social activities, uh, and then come Saturday, uh, I was trying my best to get into Legion mode. Um, it's kind of hard for me during the school years if I'm like so narrowly focused on school and like teaching history and everything. It like Legion kind of like pulls me out of that, which is actually refreshing, um, for the most part. And it took me like a good 24 to 36 hours to like get in Legion mode. But what really helped was just like I felt like Gandalf. I was like looking around. I'm like, I have no memory of this place. And then it just like hit me as soon as we did check in. I'm like, oh right, I'm playing in an invitational. I gotta like have my shit together. And
Yeah.
I just I just like popped my headphones in, was listening to it was like some like Luke ambience, just like mixture of like Luke hype up music and everything, and um, just started listening to that, and it really helped get me in the zone. Uh, so like once check in was a thing, I was like, all right, you got to figure it out because like you're about to play your first game, and once I got checked in, I was like, all right, where is he? Because I had to go like the ritual is if Bushman's ever at a tournament that I'm playing Operative Luke at, because I consider him the master of Operative Luke. Um, Not that there aren't other players that are really really good with Luke. It's just kind of like a running thing between the two of us. But I was like seeking him out, uh, and I think they had already put round one pairings up. But I was like, where is he? I need that Luke blessing. um, because I had done that at every tournament that him and I were both at, where I was playing Operative Luke. You know, I'll search him out and be like, Reverend, I need a Luke blessing, and lo and behold, I find him, and he looks at me and just shakes his head, and I'm like, why are you shaking your head? I was like, anyways, I was like, I need a Luke blessing. I think they're about to put pairings up. He's like, you haven't seen, have you? It's like, seen what? He's like, we're playing round one. I was like, oh my God. Not only did I not want to play Bushman, he had actually gone 4-0 in the GT. He was doing Yoda, Bad Batch, Chewie, Triple Commandos, and Triple Medics, with, in the infantry squads. He's not only did I not want to have to play against him round one because like one of us has to lose and one of us is out. Um, but he was also playing a list that I was kind of not necessarily terrified against, but like scratching my head trying to figure out how do I deal with this on like you know 90% of the objectives. And anyways, we ended up playing. I got what I think was the best setup for me. We got put on destroy enemy base was the secondary, and then intercept signals was the primary. Um, and I had kind of a decision to make. Like, do I just send Luke off into the corner and go blow his base up turn two, uh, and just try to hold everything else? Like, basically, does Luke just go score me 4 points and then does nothing the rest of the game? Um, or do I put Luke on his side of the table with his base that he's trying to blow up, and Luke just plays defense, and I try to win on the intercept points? And I opted to put Luke on the defense and just keep his stuff with intel tokens off the intercept signals. Um, we only got to round three, so we were probably like three activations, like two of his, one of mine, or two and two. We were like three or four activations from getting into round four. And the game ended 4-0 in my favor. But had we gone into round four, there was a good chance he could blow up the base. But to do so and take the lead, he would have to kill a full health Luke and a full health bus, and I think like another full health rebel squad at the bare minimum, while also double or triple moving Bad Batch. And not to say that it couldn't be done, but it was kind of a tall order, and I think it just ultimately came down to I think I made the right call not sending Luke off on his own to get the 4 points right off the bat. Because if I had done that, Luke was just too far away to do anything meaningful for the rest of the game. And then I just have this, unstoppable bulldozer pushing down his left side, my right side, and the wall couldn't hold, against Yoda and Bad Batch and Chewie and everything. Like it would have been a nightmare.
So
But
I want to ask, when you're playing Intercept, especially with your list, which we can go over in a second. Actually, I'll pull that up.
yeah,
How would you play Intercept, or what's kind of like? Do you have any pointers for Intercept?
um, well, it depends if you have control mechanisms like force push or suppression tricks or ways to like nullify things that have intel tokens. So push being like the main one, but you also have things like Vader's Might and like Dooku's 3 pip. What else? Yeah, like Yoda can drop a bunch of suppression. I think it all starts with how well, like who do they put their intel tokens on or what? If they put their intel token on something killable, you probably want to go for that first. You definitely need to score both of your intercept points turn two. If you don't, the only exception is like whatever you don't score, they also can't score. But you should probably give yourself like a 1 point buffer. So if you can confidently go, they can't score either one. I can score one. You need to do that. If you just don't score your at least two of the three intercept points, turn two, you're really behind. I think, and I think that's where higher activations helped me because I think I had to go double last because we had a 3 pip roll off and he had two passes. So it was 12-9 and he had two passes, but he had to go first. So I got to go last with two things. I just went last with my two things with intel tokens. And, Luke was one of them. And Luke was basically on Yoda duty, just making sure Yoda doesn't score anything with an intel token just by pushing him off.
And do you usually sweep one side, or do you like split your forces? Okay, I know with higher activations it's easier to split, but I wasn't sure if like you had something in particular that you
Well,
liked.
as deployment is unfolding, right, as turn one's unfolding, I'm just kind of mirroring what he does. I'd start with like put one core unit over here, they're disposable. Okay, he passes. All right, I'll put another core unit over here. Now I got one on each side, and now I can just double move them up next turn and they can potentially score and yada yada. Um turn like halfway through the turn, you kind of see how things start to unfold, and it's like, okay, he's really favoring one side. Um, at that point, you don't want to overcommit too much to the weak side because then you just get rolled on the side that you know they're pushing. So basically, I think all I had was like two core units on my left side, his right side, and he had one core unit, but it didn't have an intel token. So I think his plan was to get Yoda. So he had an intel token on Yoda and an intel token on. He chose Yoda, Chewie, and a commando, I think. That's that's intercept, right? You choose three, and then your opponent picks two of those three.
Yeah, I think so because you
Yeah,
whoever has it just contesting gets the
yeah,
points.
yeah. And then I chose Luke and two buses, and he picked Luke in a bus, and that was pretty much it made Luke have to commit. Like Luke had a bomb and a bus, so like Luke did
Ah.
have a lot that he had to do, and that's what I think even further incentivized me to put Luke on the defense. Um, but yeah, splitting the army up was essentially just watching how deployment unfolded and making sure to kind of like mirror his moves where it's like, oh man, he's going really hard for this side. I know I can't win a straight up fight because that's not really what rebels do. Um, they just gotta, try to like swarm the objective and hope and survive. Like, um, we're not, buses aren't lasting very long against commandos at range 2, and Bad Batch is gonna chew through light save units pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, I just basically in that game, that was I think the boogeyman game for me, the one that I was not feeling the greatest about going into it, and of course it was round one, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Like I kind of like Bushman's a great player, and he's even through the 2.6 changes, his legacy's obviously carried over. I mean, he just went 4-0 in the GT, and he had practice against this list some against Brian Bear. Brian Bear was running something similar, so I knew he knew what to do, and I knew it was going to be a tough match, and it's not what I was looking forward to round one.
Yeah, because I know that was
That was it.
one of the main things that I wanted to touch on was like maybe one of the lists that you feared going up against the most, or even player. I didn't know if there was like even a specific person that you were afraid of.
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily afraid, but cautious,
Yeah.
as they say in another IP, fear is the mind killer. But I wouldn't say fear. Fear also leads to the dark side. Um, I would say more cautious,
Okay.
less optimistic, and just more so, uh, not excited. um, but yeah, it was the list. It was definitely anything with Republic, Bad Batch, and Commandos. Just because I can't spend any of my Dodge tokens, and that's where Rebels get a lot of their survivability.
Yeah.
I mean, Rebel
Now,
Bad Batch too. Han and Rebel Bad Batch are looking pretty good. Other sleeper cell lists, um, Tempest Force was something I wasn't too keen on playing against, but that was round two, so round one and two, I had to play against lists that I didn't necessarily want to.
well, do you want to go
But
ahead
I
and
found a way.
explain game two?
Yeah. Game two was against Tony from Denver. We were on the most abundant table I think I have ever played on in Legion. Between his two ATSDs and my two buses, I think we found any and all possible paths of movement on that table possible. There were just simple, like there was one point where there was a wall that was like this tall, and the bus is this tall, and it's just a wall like this, and I literally had the bus sitting on top of the wall, and we're like, I mean, this is the only place I can really deploy this bus. How did the sleeper cell get out? And they looked it up, and they're like, it appears that they go as close as possible, and then you just go from there. And so I was like, all right. So they drop like right here. I'm like, yep. They would, you do a speed one from right there, and then they go out. Because like the bus is actually, you might have to edit that. the the bus is like hovering on this wall, and they just kind of like drop out. But okay, one more.
You're good.
Like I said, recovering.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was a really tough game. I basically had to draw the ATST's fire with Luke, because that is the only red save unit in my entire army. And I got two shots with backup because he shot me at range 3. And other than that, if Luke just dies to ATST shots, that's probably game over. I think through 3 ATST shots, 2 of them with backup and cover, 1 of them without. Um, I think Luke took 2 or 3 wounds. He had some dodges here and there. For the most part, Luke kind of survived the ATST shots, and I was able to get into the rear arc with some fleet troopers with impact grenades, and
Man.
they just charged into the rear arc with it was like 6 or 7 hits, and they had the shotgun, so it was Pierce 1. So I was like, I think that was actually in What was it? Round 3, I think. So when they charged into the rear arc and they scored like 6, and I think that ended up dropping Marquand because he had like 6 wounds on him. So it was like 5, pierce 1, and I think he rolled 1 blank or 1 block, and I pierced it. However it worked out, I killed it. Um, Scouts eventually took down Luke. His scouts were kind of cold in their first opening shots, and then once they started shooting at Luke, it was like, all right, 5 saves, 8 saves, 7 saves,
Ooh.
and then Luke went down. But this was after he had gotten to do some Skywalker and he had served, and Luke had kind of done all he needed to, and we were on. I think we were on Recover the Research. So, yeah, we were on Recover the Research. So I had plenty of time to kind of like spread out. And we did surface scan as well. What
A
we did
recon.
surface scan, recon mission 1 and 2. Yeah,
Hmm?
it was. Yeah, it was recon mission because we dropped it a couple times and it was only the 1 token. So yeah, it was recon mission. Um, but yeah, that was a fun game against Tempest again. Not what I was trying to face. And then, do you want me to, before we go into the next couple games, you want me to just kind of break down the list a little bit? We could talk about it. So
Yeah, I've got your list
the
pulled up,
themes like, well, yeah,
and I'll let you kind of talk about it, and I'll just kind of show it.
yeah. So yeah, as you know, I had mentioned Operative Luke. Um, Not gonna say he's an auto include in every Rebel army, but he's definitely, I think, the greatest playmaker in the Rebel arsenal. He can take 5 things off of a point in 1 round just on uh, like if you play serve, or even if you could play some of Skywalker too. So he could actually do that on 2 turns. Vader can do that as well. Or no, Vader on Implacable, I think, can only do 4 in an activation. But I think on, yeah, I'll have to do the math on it, but it's a lot. It's but Luke is able to do 5 if you have Mind Trick on him, because you have you kill something, you disengage, walk, pull the leader off, Mind Trick, uh, serve, and then push. So you could potentially have a 5 count swing, and he really opens up a lot of plays
Yeah, the
in this game.
objective play that he has is really good.
Yeah, and this game is about objectives. It really is. You can, like in the finals, I was up on kill points pretty handedly. I think it was by like 110, 120, but it didn't matter because I had slacked on the objective some, and I had placed a couple things too far away, I think. And but yeah, anyways, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Luke,
mind asking you about those objectives
yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah. Luke, we'll save the faults for last, the flaws.
All right.
Um, but yeah, Luke definitely, I think, is a must consider, not a must take, but a must consider. Like, you gotta have a good reason for not taking him. And if you're taking Bad Batch and Leia or Bad Batch and Han instead, that's acceptable. I think it comes down to a flavor thing. They're a little more killy, whereas Luke's a little more controlling. Um, but yeah, starting with Luke, we had 2 buses, with one with Shriv because he needed commander, and then 2 onboard comms, 1 on each. Really helps with your orders with sleepers, turns 1 and 2, which you absolutely need. You can't you can't just be fishing in the bag for sleeper tokens, especially if you need to activate them first. They get shot while the defenses are down. They're usually toast. And the onboard comms really helps them, putting them in the buses, uh,
Because I
gives
was
them
going to
the free
ask,
order.
yeah, I was going to ask if you put them in the buses or if you leave them out. Because I know that if you have people in the bus, they get an order automatically, even without comms, right? And then if you have them in there and you give the order to the bus, it's going to give it to them, and then you can comms relay it, or not comms relay it, but onboard comms it.
Yeah, so the unit in the bus gets an order, um, and then like for example, I would play uh, Return of the Jedi, which is Luke in 2 units. So Luke would get an order and a dodge, um, then I would issue to both buses. Um, both buses would, before they get an order, or any order I think you want, it's all part of the same step. You can just issue an order to the unit you are transporting. So if you're transporting 2 sleepers, one in each bus, they get a face up, and then you have 1 sleeper left. Um, you issue an order from the card to a bus, and then you onboard comms to the other sleeper, and then you have all 3 sleepers, and all you have in your bag is core. Um, there were, I think, 2 games, 1 or 2 games where I put 1 sleeper in the bus and 1 fleet put uh, the non-impact guys in the bus, and you could still get perfect water control that way because you get a face up for the fleets in the bus and you get a face up for the sleepers in the bus, and then you still onboard comms when they're issued the 2 orders from the Turn of the Jedi, and then you still get both sleepers. So order control is really important here in this game.
Yeah,
um,
especially with how
the
many
more
units you've
information,
got.
yeah. Yeah, and 12 activations felt really good, But I mean, 3 sleepers with the astromech, they're super solid and efficient. You can load them up with upgrades, but I think it's 75 points with the droid. Is that what they are?
Yeah, 75 points with the droid.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I mean, I did the math, and I'm like, figure you pay X cost for tactical, you pay X cost for Scout 2, you pay X cost for Nimble. I think when I broke it down, you're paying between 38 and 42 points for a 2 courage unit with 6 health, surge on offense and defense that throws 12 dice in range 2 with a melee weapon that's also 12 dice. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like that's pretty good value if you just strip down the keywords. So, I think Sleeper Cell's a little undercosted, just really efficient for what they do.
I think the
But
same thing.
Rebels also needed some new toys. And you pay 5 points for an extra health with the droid, and you effectively get agile, um, which is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so the 3 sleepers, and then I had 2 fleets with the repair bots, with the astromechs, and then the shotguns on them, the scatter gun, which is really cool. Actually, I actually really like the scatter gun on the fleets. And then one of them
Hmm.
had impact grenades. Got 3 points left, and I almost considered dropping another captain or dropping a captain to get another copy of impact grenades, but I couldn't quite justify it. But then the last 4 activations on the list is just rebel troopers with captains and the SX-21 like range 2 guy, and they were pretty solid. I mean, 9 dice range 2 is nothing to scoff at. 5 black, 2 white, 2 red. So it's pretty solid with impact 1.
Yeah.
Most of the times
And
against armor, it's 2 or 3 saves.
especially since most of the impact in GAR is, stationary, you have to be cumbersome, or it's only range 2 and you're trying to aim and move because you've got it on the commandos. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier with rebels.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, rebels are incentivized to move because they get dodges. So your move, dodge, shoot 9 dice. That's pretty efficient for I think they're like 68 points or something. That's pretty
Hmm.
efficient.
Yeah, what
I do
was
have I do have what I think is an optimized version of this list where I cut 2 of the captains. But we'll talk about that later. I've done some thinking.
yeah, did you want to talk about kind of like we just kind of broke it down and went through it, and we slightly talked about like the order control, kind of like a strategy behind it, but I wasn't sure if You wanted to talk about the main like goal of the list and or maybe like the objectives that you thought you'd be like the best at or not so best out kind of stuff.
Um, Honestly, I think this list is really good at all the objectives. Um, its weakest one might be bunker assault, but you still have an operative and three special forces that can like blow up a bunker if your opponent's unexpectedly like leave it. Like if they're not expecting it and they leave it uncontested by, or if they don't leave enough units to contest it, and okay, Luke and sleeper cells will just double move in, and the bunker's already got a wound on it, and I blow it up. Like bunker assault actually seems. I didn't play any games of bunker assault, but I figured that was probably my worst objective. Um, Shifting priorities is great. There was a game where the stars kind of aligned, and I could have contested three POIs with a bus.
Oh
So
wow.
that was interesting. Yeah, just because the way they had moved. He like backed up, took a standby, and like depending on where things went, he could just be like reposition. Like now I'm at half range of all three of these. Um, so that was kind of cool.
Now I
Cover
see you
research
have
is good.
Garrison in here. I know a lot of people
Yeah,
don't really care for it, but I wasn't sure if there was a specific unit you had in mind when you were playing Garrison.
I think it's better than the other options. Fortify doesn't really do much for me. There's like no shortage of heavy cover. Uh, Heavy cover is also not as great as it used to be. I mean, it could be, could not be. We don't know.
Right.
Garrison's mainly just for getting a fleet up there or something. Like I think I got Garrison one game, and I just got to like start a fleet trooper. I don't know, was it 9 inches up the board? Right, that's range. That's 1.5 range, right?
Yeah.
So, getting a started fleet trooper 9 inches closer to your opponent, not too bad. That usually, sets up for a turn two charge onto a POI, which is pretty good. Or rebel troopers, even. I just think the list has a lot of flexibility. It definitely has to just push things forward. Turn one, you cannot sit back, and that's kind of what I did in the finals against like I'm like I went back and watched part of the game now, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like well, again, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But
Okay.
you definitely have to like just push onto the objective. Um, you can't be afraid to like lose your rebel troopers. You're getting all these free dodges, and you have these buses that can just be a wall. You just like move up with a bus, unload whoever's in it, and then either take a standby if you're not sure like where they'll go to try to get a shot on the sleepers, or you just like move up, turn sideways, make a wall, and you move in a position where you can send the sleepers like through the base, just so you can clear the other side, and then the sleepers can like pop out behind the bus and be like, "Hello, 12 dice with me."
Yeah. That tactical is so good on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you figure you pay 6 points for offensive push, and it's a exhaust. So for tactical, you're probably paying what, 8 to 10?
Yeah. And
Right.
because like, what if you also added? Would you rather if you had extra points? Would you rather put like
Yeah.
offensive push or targeting scopes?
Mhm. Honestly, if I had extra points, I'd rather try to fit in some more astromechs
Well,
to
okay.
keep
Well,
the
yeah,
buses
definitely.
alive. Keep the buses alive. I think sleepers are like you do in the new cover system reach a point of diminishing return where I think the difference between 10 and 12 successes on offense, assuming you're shooting into heavy cover, which with the limited range band you have to work with, you're probably not getting many out of cover shots. I think two more successes is that you might get from scopes or offensive push. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. Scope, I would go with scopes over offensive push first, but only if I had the points. Like if I just didn't have points for anything else. But
Okay.
there are definitely things that, and that's why I said I've refined the list based on my experience and what I really needed. It was not clear to me until last night as I was pondering. But we'll get to that later.
Okay. Well, then, would you want to talk about the third game?
Yeah. Um, Third game was against Daniel, I believe was his name, and this was on stream. And he was also playing Rebels. He had, I, he either had one or two sleeper, so I can't remember. But he also had Commander Luke and Han, and he had a Shriv bus, but his was loaded up. Um, he also had 5 Ion Troopers. That
Oh,
was
wow.
not something I was trying to go up against, and his Ion Troopers were like towards the bottom of his list, and I'm like, okay, all right, Luke, okay. Oh, is that say 5 Ion Troopers? It's like, all right, this is gonna be gross. So I only have two droids, and with 5 Ion Troopers, I basically have to make sure that the buses are scoring a POI turn 1 because they're not moving turn 2, you know. Um, and that just is what it is. Uh, it's, it's the price we pay to play buses. But
Right.
that was a tough game. We were on shifting, I think. Yeah, I think we were on shifting priorities. And
Hmm.
I think we sweep and clear. I believe we
Yeah,
sweep and
sweep. Shifting and sweep.
clear. Okay. Yeah. And then um, there was like this big building in the so like if he's over here and I'm down here on this side, there's this building like right here, and I had some like rebel troopers hanging out here. He had some rebel troopers over here, and there was a POI like right here. And I didn't want to just like rush to that too soon, and then he just like yanks it back to his side, and then now I can't like get over the building to get to it because it was a height 2 building, and there was a spot that I think he could move it to that I just couldn't score it, even if I like double moved, because he would like yank it over the building edge, and I would have to like run around the building, and I couldn't climb up. So didn't want to have to do that. Um, I did split my army up, I think, pretty effectively, all things considered. His ATRTs were saving pretty hot. Well, ATRT. Oh, that was the one main issue. Was I think I had a sleeper cell shoot his bus and did nothing, which
Uh,
it can happen. But or it was something that like I just needed to do one wound on the bus. I think it was sleeper, and they didn't kill it. Um, we got into a situation like super super late in the game where he had a 4 health rebel squad kind of like up in like this area on like a building right here, and then there was a POI right here, and there was like this boxy kind of like it's like a vent door or something, and it was kind of doing a good job blocking line of sight to one guy in the squad. And I took probably like 45 50 seconds to try to like move my sleeper unit leader. Like, okay, if I move him here and I cohere max range out here, can I see him? And we had a couple different places like, all right, I might be able to see him if I cohere, or if I cohere here, or if I go over here, or over here. And so, like, this kind of mattered because if I didn't one shot that squad, they could turn around and like move on to the POI and tie it. And I think I either needed two or I think I needed 2 points to go up on VPs. And if he had tied up that POI, it was going to make it hard because then I think what I did, like just one shot his ATRT or something. I don't remember. Either way, it went. He, or like, checking line of sight for that and everything. And, I could sense he got a little frustrated. He's like, Austin, you can't shoot him. It's like, I was like, I mean, we've looked at a couple angles. Like there are a couple more to check. I mean, it's like I feel like we've been playing at a pretty good pace. We're in round 4. It's like this kind of matters. I need to see if we can get a shot. And he, I think he was just kind of wanting to like get on with it and go with his activation. And we did check a couple of the other positions, and we both came to an agreement that okay, no, I cannot see that one rebel trooper. So I still shot them, killed all but the one. And then I think I had one activation and he had 2. So he went with something else, and then I went with my Shriv bus. And I made a small mistake leaving. There was like one guy that I cohered that was trying to use to see his rebel trooper that was hiding. And once we determined that I couldn't see him, I just left him there, and it kind of blocked the space off from my bus to go score that POI if I needed to.
Man.
And I didn't realize that until I went to go move the bus, and I was like, oh, crap. It's like I can't actually like move, like the template wouldn't clear by like a couple millimeters. And I'm like, all right, so now I guess what I got to do is like since the bus can't go there and score, now I just got to like sit here in the middle and take a standby. And then if he moves the ATRT, like if he moves the ATRT off the middle, I think it was 3-2 on the middle. So I was winning the middle because I had Luke, Sleeper, and the bus on the middle. He was winning the 2 over here. And then I was winning this one that was up here. And then we were tied on this one because it was one health guy. So I think what he was trying to do was move this ATRT over to this one to tie this one up. And then it would be 1-2. And I think he would go up by a VP or whatever happened. It would either, yeah, that's what it was. Cause we went to kill points. So if I only got one of the 5 that turn, he would win by 1 VP. But if I at least got 2 to his 2, if we at least stayed even, then it would go to kill points. And it was fairly close on kill points from what I remember. But basically I forget exactly what the kill points were, but basically what ended up happening is the bus takes a standby once I realize like he's staying on the middle point. So if he leaves with the ATRT, the bus has to like wait for the ATRT to climb down and then do the second move to determine like, okay, where do I need to go? Because if he leaves the ATRT and I pull the bus off with the standby and then he just goes back with the ATRT, now I tie the middle and now I only get 1 from this one. And then we tie middle and this one. So I have to wait for him to second move the ATRT because if he goes to this one to try to tie it, then I have to move the bus to go there to match that once he's done with his second action. But I think what ended up getting him is when so I go with the bus and I'm like, all right, well, I think all I can do is take a standby and we'll sit here. And didn't realize it at the time, but we had about 5 seconds left in like before hard dice. And
Oh wow.
he goes, all right, well, great game, Austin. Don't quote me exactly, but he's like, great game, Austin. We'll just go ahead and move with the ATRT and we'll I believe I'll win. And I was like, well, where are you going to move with it? I mean, you do have like you can say, like I could have said, yeah, I agree, I concede, let's call it, but I'm not going to like do your move. And he went to go climb. He like tried to climb through the bus. I was like, I don't think you can land there, but you can like go the other way. Like, oh, okay, I'll go, pivot, go around the other way. So we'll land like down here somewhere. And as soon as he said land down here, they go hard dice down. And then he's like, and then we'll move. I was like, think that's it, man. I didn't feel great about it, but
Yeah,
when
we
they
have
say
those
hard
games.
dice, you know,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. When they say the
when they say hard dice, like that's I guess that's where we draw the line, I guess. But like I say, we had about 5 seconds, or he had about 5 seconds when he had activated. I think if he had just instead of eating like 3 seconds, kind of doing a victory monologue, saying, "All right, oh, good game." I think if you had just done the move, he would have been 2-1, and he would have been moving on. You know.
yeah, because I was gonna say I feel like there's some players that do that, and or we, I don't know if it's running the clock. I don't want to accuse him of any of that. I just know that there was a player I've played before who monologued quite a bit and took his time on a lot of movement. But I don't know if that's anything like it. But there was a few questions I had just to get your thoughts on it. You did win by 99 points. That is an amazing small amount of
yeah,
points to win by.
yeah.
So he did have Ryder Azadi on his truck. Do you think that it's worth it to have Ryder? Because I mean, it's mostly you're probably only using it for one move.
If you're trying to deliver sleeper cell, could be good. Ask me that question when we do you want to save the list refined, like the refined list? You want to save that for last? We'll save a nice special surprise for the end.
Yeah.
Because well, all right, if you want to do that, we'll come back to that because I have on that same similar topic anyways, of getting extra movement out of your buses. I have a theory. And so if you want, we can tackle that question at the end if you want to save the surprise for the end.
Yes, definitely. I would love to do that.
Cool.
And then the last one is having, I guess, Commander Luke. I don't know if you think Commander Luke is worth it either.
He's okay. I think he's defensible. He allows you to put more in the army, but he's not going to be what operative Luke is. He can, like the whole game plan was to not get, not end my Luke's activation within range one of him, or try to like basically don't get I am a Jedi by his Luke, because that's worth a lot more to him than it is to me. And if he's only paying 125 points to do, because then I have to play I am a Jedi, and like you know now my Luke's not playing Son of Skywalker, and now my 240 point unit isn't attacking, and your 130 point unit isn't attacking. So like now I'm down 90 points of fighting capability, and I just Commander Luke's definitely annoying, and he's solid. But I think if you want the full Luke experience, you probably need to go operative Luke, just because there's nothing like him in the game really. He's the full experience. He's the full toolkit. You know,
Okay, I can handle that.
he's also more survivable too. One more health, uh, and deflect opposed to block,
It's a
except in
huge
melee.
difference,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Melee operative Luke is less survivable on like one big swing. Like Commander Luke, if he's got a dodge, like could withstand one big swing. But yeah, not it's not super straightforward.
Okay. I know your fourth game, Michael Stubbs.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We he's playing experimental droids with three Decas, two Vibrosword BXs with snipers and impact grenades, some B1s, Kraken. Uh, let's get like 10
Some
activations.
let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Or 11. Yeah. Um,
Some
that game, I had to. had to pull out a few tricks, and we we base so we play close the pocket. Um, close the pocket's just you got to go after the middle. Very few armies can threaten all three. You got to pick two of the three. I did put a one rebel squad over here to like threaten this pocket, and he kind of I think he overcommitted one BX too many. He put two BXs and two B1s over here, and at that point, I was like, all right, everyone run to the middle, and then this one over here. We're also playing surface scan, and I knew I had to protect my surface scan sleepers as best as possible, and Luke. So he was definitely gunning for Luke and definitely gunning for the sleepers with surface scan. And both his B2s had the surface scan on them.
Mm.
But there was a moment where I was looking at the board state, and I was like, "Can I read surface scan one more time?" And he passed me the card, and it prompted a rules interaction question that we called a counselor over, and we asked them uh, if the unit, like, so because it's a super squad and you can cohere them at range one, if any mini in the unit is in friendly territory, right, does that count, or does it have to be the leader? And like, no, if the unit is in friendly territory, meaning any mini in the unit, they will not score their surface scan. So I was like, all right, Luke's just force pushing these guys into, your friendly territory after they activated, and then that shut his surface scan down for a turn. And so I think turn two, I won the middle, this side, and I got my surface scan. So I think I was up by three, and then it just turned into a shootout. After that, he shot sleeper cells a bunch, which you focus them if you can. And they all eventually died except the squad that was holding my scanner. So um, once his B2s had gotten pushed back into friendly territory, I charged them with fleets to keep them in territory. I was like, you can either stay in there or you can like withdraw and not attack. And that's what I think the drawback is for the super squads. You have so many points allocated into one activation that things like that can happen. Um, he could have attacked the fleets in melee, but it's entirely possible maybe they don't die and they live on one. And then now they're stuck there again. But he opted to withdraw and then move because he was setting up for a turn next turn. But at that point, I had split his super squads, and while Luke had pushed them off to say, "Hey, you get out of here." Now Luke could kind of solo the other super squad with help of my other fleet troopers, and just kind of splitting them up for a turn was really good. And yeah, that was a fun play. And again, you can't do that with many units. Luke's one of them. You could do even more with Vader. You could really put them in timeout with Vader if you like, push cohere over here, Vader's might. Like you could push him even further into timeout with Vader. But um, I still I still stand by my statement. I think Operative Luke is a must consider for all rebels. Just you don't have to take them, but you should definitely at least consider. Um, so yeah, I
Yeah.
think
No.
we ended up finishing that game like turn four. I think turn four it was like 12-5 or 12-6. Um, and that was it. That was pretty much it for that game. He uh he was definitely, I think if he had put one less BX over on this side and put it more towards the middle, I would have gotten a little bit more overwhelmed.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then once anything gotten oh good.
No, sorry. It's just tough when you're playing close the pocket and maybe you go first and you overcommit to one side. Um,
Yeah.
and because I usually like to fake one side, and then put almost everything else. You split them. It's easier to take over that one where you commit more and then rush to the middle.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's to the point. I've heard a lot of good players say, it all boils down to how do you split your army? Can you split your army effectively? And that is a big part of the game now. It's,
Hmm.
having the sort of macro level awareness and strategy.
I agree. Um, yeah. So your next game had another CIS list.
Yeah,
Uh,
very
Cubone.
more super squads. Yep,
Oh
Jr.
boy.
Yeah, and I think he won LVO what 2 3 years? No, 3 years ago, right? Because um, yeah, I think yeah, Jr. had won it 3 years ago. Yeah, that was another game where I was like not 100% sure how I want to do this, but I know that if he plays it smart, he can outrange me with the geos. So if he's just gonna like, I was kind of thinking that he would maybe sit back turn one, and if he did, I was like, I just need to move everything forward, and whatever happens, happens. If he kills a bus, he kills a bus. It is what it is. The one thing I felt like I could hold over in the whole game is I could score my enemy sweeping clear, my enemy territory sweeping clear, because I have Luke with force push. I can kind of like rearrange the board and move an enemy unit into a position where Luke can go into enemy territory and kill them. And that I think is what ultimately won me the game. It was on stream, by the way, if anyone wants to go back and watch it. The I didn't realize, I guess, some of the player audio wasn't really coming through that great. Uh, like I was watching parts of it, and I guess it was kind of hard to hear some of the player audio. But I don't. There was a point where I think Jagmer had mentioned something about. He's like, yeah, I almost didn't go over there with the geos because he's like, I wasn't sure what you were setting up there. I was like, I saw you almost, you kind of like gave me a shot against Luke, and like I almost took it, but I figured it was like, well, I'd rather shoot sleepers. So I don't know if they picked that up on the player idea, but I had to like entice him to move a killable Geo squad. It had to be, it couldn't be a 9-man because I don't think I would have killed a 9-man with some. I mean, maybe. Um, 14 black dice. Like I got to roll 9 out of 14. I roll 8. It doesn't happen. But so I had to get him with the 5-man squad over there. So I just kind of had to like sacrifice a 2 or 3 health sleeper cell. Just be like, here, please come get these guys. And by doing that, I think I gave him a friendly, or so I gave him one of his sweep and clears by doing that. But it was okay because he got a 1 for it, and I needed a 2, so I could go up 1. Um,
Big brain
but
plays.
yeah, oh, little b, little p, not a capital B, but
Small sacrifice for a much bigger.
yeah,
Um,
payoff. Yeah.
yes.
Um, I also kind of assumed once it was apparent that he was just going to let me have my point up here and here, which I didn't score this one turn two because they were like an inch too short or something. So I just mismeasured that. Um, and chess clocks make the game a little different. I hadn't played with chess clocks in 3 years, almost 2 years, and like I got a little hasty and could have just taken like an extra 20 seconds off the chess clock to double, like to ensure these guys could double move and score that, because it looked like he was just giving it to me, and that's never what you want to do against rebels. You never just want to give them a free BP, unless, I mean, no, I'm not gonna say never, there are exceptions, but I want to be careful doing it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was we chatted afterwards, and I think he called it after round 4, but we chatted about, it's like, hey, do you think that one Geo squad, which is roughly 51 or something points? I was like, do you think what is it? You get 5 in extra geos or 4?
I
You
think
get
you get
5, right?
5. I think so.
Yeah. So so I was like, do you think 5 black and 5 white is that going to guarantee you a VP like Force Push would? And he said that kind of resonated with him. Like he's like, yeah, I might have to consider that because I think if he had Force Push, that would have been a different game. I would have had a little bit less firepower to have to contend with, but I was also looking for any and all opportunity to go just like tar pit maul with, two like 1 health guys or something, just like, hey, go double move and run into melee with maul. It's like, all right, cool, swing away and can't kill this
Yeah,
guy. But
he had a very bare bones maul. I don't think I've ever seen a maul
yeah,
with almost nothing on him
yeah.
because he just had
He had
saber throw, I
throw.
think. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and he opted for, he infiltrated with him and then just threw a lightsaber at my bus, turn 1, and he did like 2 wounds.
Okay.
He shot it again the second turn. I think he got like 2 crits and 2 hits, and it was like 4 pierce 2. I was like, oh geez, and I think he killed it turn 2, like at the very start.
Mm.
So that was problematic. Um, but yeah, I think Maul's definitely got some play. I don't know if Force Push is the call on him. It's not as 40 points is a lot. It's really expensive, and 40 points to guarantee a VP, maybe. For 40 points, you could just play an extra activation, and that's kind of the same ish.
Yeah. Uh, um, I feel like it's tough on Maul. I mean, I think you probably want it. I wouldn't say over the CIS Maul because obviously you have less health on a Shadow Collective Maul. But the free recover, at least with Shadow Collective, with that one pit, kind of makes it a little bit more justifiable. Um, but yeah, I know it's very expensive. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the fact that it being 40 points is worth it to take on everyone, or maybe if there's anyone specific that you have that you think
It's
should.
yeah, it's definitely not an auto include on everyone like it used to be. It's at 30 points. I don't know if I'd take it on, like Ahsoka or or Asajj or Maul. I Anything less than 30 points, yeah, I think it would go back to being an auto take. But at 40, it's like I had to think long and hard. I'm like, do I just want a whole nother activation or you know what I'm saying? But it makes sense on certain characters. So like Operative Luke, I think it makes sense. Just because now he can kind of do whatever he needs to. He can, disengage. Like if you got 2 people on him, he can just push and then disengage, or you know, it's it's all about making your opponent have to use their resources in a way they don't want to. So if you're making Luke push first, then he's not pushing something off the point. So it can still be played around. It's 40 points is a lot. Uh,
Yeah,
But I
no, I
think
agree.
yeah, I think anyone with Master of the Force should at least heavily consider it. You know, I think I should definitely consider.
Um, and then I think your last game had Michael,
Yep.
the guy who was, I feel like, only able to take down the most unstoppable person there. But I think he was also tied. I think he was also undefeated at the time that y'all both were playing each
Mhm,
other.
mhm. Yeah, we were both 5-0. Um, yeah, Michael and I had never played. Um, he was at the local. I think it was in. I think it was like December 19th or something. It was the last chance to get an invite to the invitational, and he won that tournament and got his invite. And we were just kind of chatting um, in between the 5th round and the finals, and he was just like making mention of being worried about chess clocks, and how his first game kind of helped get him a feel. Like they finished the game with 35 minutes left on each clock, and he's like, I didn't need to go that fast. And it got to a point where I think once he found his comfort zone with the chess clocks, he was grooving and rocking and rolling. I thought it looked good for me. um, Once he did his scout move, and then double moved his ATRT with the flamethrower up, and I was like, oh, cool. I'll get a friendly sweep and clear and kill a unit turn one, and he won't get anything. And I think where I went wrong was I got too greedy. After I had killed his ATRT, I think everything else just needed to focus on pushing for the POI. And instead, what I decided to do, I should have never put down the range 4, because I saw his sleeper cell was like a good, I don't know, inch and a half, 2 inches from range 4 of my board edge. And I'm like, well, I have a standby. Don't want to pop out with my sleepers and get shot first. So they're within range 4 of my board edge. So I can just double move Luke and drop Mind Trick and get rid of the suppression. And then I can shoot him. I didn't need to do that. I really didn't need to. But I did anyways. And that put Luke, like, I think he was like a half range outside of being able to burst to speed, double move, and like go affect this POI and the breakthrough. I also didn't commit enough to over here initially. I put too much stuff in like this area, but I also didn't know where Bad Batch was going to go, and I didn't want to give him a free friendly, because that one's not the easiest to get. I didn't want to give him a free friendly with like Bad Batch just rolling up and okay, here's 9, 10, 11, however many dice and all the mods, because it's the 3-pip. So the initial plan was to just kind of faint over here and then just like push with all this, but I didn't push enough with all this. I got I think too greedy after I got the ATRT. I just had things that were too far away. Um, so yeah, that was pretty much all that came down to, I think. There was I think it was at the end of, or yeah, so at the end of 2, the score tracker showed 4-4, and I played my command card, and we went like 4 or 5 activations each into 3. And then one of the judges, Timbo, came over and was like, "Hey, there's chat says there's a score discrepancy. It should be 5-4." And I went back and looked at um, the stream. It actually should have been 4-3, because I didn't get my 2 point until round 3. So they basically came over and they're like, "Yeah, it should be 5-4. Chat says there's a score discrepancy." Um, And at that point in time, I didn't do enough with these guys. Like, these guys had activated, and I didn't do enough to get them on this POI this turn. So I was going to go down by 2. Um, and that was going to be a problem. Like on breakthrough, if you go down by more than 2 early, it's going to be really, really hard to pull yourself out of that. And so I just made a couple errors based on that. And then, like I said, getting too greedy over here. I could have taken this away from him and gotten 2 from it, but I didn't have my Shriv within range 3 of them, and even a double move, I think, wouldn't have got him there. And so I basically ended up with that situation where Shriv providing a commander bubble at range 3 would have probably put the game back in my favor. Even though I was down 1, I was fairly ahead on kill points. But again, it just goes to show this rendition of Legion is not about kills. It is about scoring objective points. And this is what but either way, I mean, Michael was a great player. He was great to play against. There were some fun moments in that game. I definitely made a couple of mistakes, and now that I've had time to kind of like sit back and study them, it's like see them. It's like one thing watching the tape, and you're like, oh, well, I should have done that different. I should have done that different. As opposed to like when you're in the moment, you're like it's kind of hard to like keep track of. Okay, did I just make the right decision or the wrong decision? Now you can just kind of like sit down and relax, uh, and just observe what you did right and what you did wrong. But Michael played great. He definitely played the objective better than I did, and he had a cool list. It was Han, Leia, Bad Batch, Din. So he had a lot. Rebel Hero Hammer. um, the ATRTs are an interesting take. Get two sleepers. 13 activations is also really good. Getting to go twice, or getting to go last with two things was also problematic. But like I said, I definitely should have just. I think all I netted by doing that line trick move with Luke, I killed like three of his sleepers in the middle with my sleepers, and
Mm.
that was not worth it. If I wiped the whole squad, maybe, but it was just not worth it. Um, but yeah, for the most, I mean, he ultimately ended up getting, I think, two. He got his enemy and his contested territory, or sorry, he got his any and his contested, and I was able to get all four of mine for sweep and clear, but it wasn't enough to offset the. I think he had he had 3 rounds of scoring my POI, and I only had, I think, 2 rounds of scoring his, or one, or so. Whatever I had, I was down by one. And if I had just found a way to like short him a VP somewhere, um, we would have gone into round 5 because it would have been 11 instead of him going 9 to 12. And if he goes to 11, we get into round 5. I think I can get enough stuff over here to contest this, open this up so nothing's here, and then win this. And then I would get 3 and he would get 2. But I just needed to tie it up on VPs, and I couldn't quite do that.
Mm.
So some new
Yeah.
tactics learned for sure. Breakthrough, I think Breakthrough has the most like calculation involved. Shifting priorities up there too. You have to know like where to put the token and such and such. But like Breakthrough, you really, really have to decide how you're going to allocate things on the board.
Yeah, I've only
That's
ever
that's
played Breakthrough once, and I was not sure how to go about it. Like with shifting, I usually try to let them score, I guess, the first round and place my people in a good position. So whenever I move the POIs closer to me, they'll have to move, and I'm a little bit easier on shooting. And then that first round where they're trying to score, I'm focused on trying to thin them out a little bit more. And then when I move everything closer, it's easier for me to kind of overwhelm a little bit. But with
yeah,
breakthrough, I don't know how you split everyone up, and then where you're trying to place majority of your guys. Because I know you go in with a plan, but then you see the list they have and how they're splitting stuff, and you're like, well, I don't know if that works the same way.
yeah, yeah, and getting double lasted in turn one kind of makes your plan go out the window because you're like, well, I don't. He can do whatever he wants with two things, and one of them is going to be Bad Batch, and Bad Batch could easily like I knew that I couldn't let anything die round one because if I did, and we're staying even on sweep and clears, that was going to be a problem. So there was also a rules interaction that I misunderstood with Bad Batch. I was like I totally could have force pushed, you know, out of range one, like the Hunter mini. He totally had the distance to push him out of range one of the POI. But for some reason, I was wanting Hunter to be outside of enemy territory for Hunter, so my friendly, his enemy, and I was like too honed in on that to even like basically what happened was I was like I just want to push Hunter so he's outside of, my territory. This is where I measured it. I went off the inside of the marker, yada, yada. It's like I want him to be just outside of it, but I also want Omega to be outside. I want to cohere her here so she's outside of one of the POI so she can't contest. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And at that moment I should have gone like, wait a second, he sounded way too calm uh when I said that. Like maybe I'm not understanding something correctly. And so like in round three, and this also shorted me a VP. So in round three, when I'm asking like, okay, so what's the deal, with the score? And he's like, well, you're not going to score that one because I'm contesting. And I was like, but even though Omega's out, and that's when I got clarification that it is Hunter that scores at range, that contests at range one, not Omega. And I should have just asked for clarification on that when I was doing the force push, because I totally could have, pushed Hunter out of the range.
Gotcha.
So just, yeah, a couple mistakes like that just compounding into a tough game to claw my way back from. But like I said, props to Michael. I mean, he's a great player. I'm happy for him. He deserves it. He's a new up and coming guy, so we're getting some new faces on the scene. It's it's a whole new world of Legion. There are the slate's pretty much clean. Like everyone's got an opportunity to go. Like this was a major event. Like the second largest event aside from Worlds, and or well, I believe it is. And if you combine the GT and the Invitational,
Okay.
it was it was a hard fought game. And Michael deserved the win. So props to him. We're gonna be ready for Worlds now.
Yeah. No, I'm
Redemption.
excited for your
That's
trip there.
redemption.
Yeah. You're gonna have to.
Yeah.
I would say do it for Florida, but with everyone good being from Florida, it's kind of hard to. see
Florida's
that.
gonna do it for Florida, hopefully. But
Yes.
no,
Uh,
this one's for Austin. This one's for Austin.
I'll be rooting for you, man.
Are you going?
Uh,
Well, I appreciate it.
no, I've got
No.
some intense plans for this year, for the next probably until September, and I'll probably at some point make an announcement for that. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I've got some pretty intense plans.
Nice. Are you able to divulge, or are we gonna no
Um,
spoilers or no secrets?
yeah, I'll keep my secrets.
Oh,
I'll
well,
divulge it later.
all right, all right. So not divulging. Got it. Got it.
Mm-mm.
Well,
Keep that card close to the chest.
okay. Well, speaking of secrets, do you want to circle back to the list? And you had asked a question about Ryder Azadi on one of the trucks.
Yes.
All
What
right.
is your thoughts on Rider's Audi, and then the other secrets to your list? I think, as well as objectives at some point.
Yeah. So I think Ryder Azadi is a solid pick if you only have 5 points to work with. Yeah. Throw it on the bus. It'll, a speed 1 to a speed 2 is gonna net you like 2 extra inches. It's solid, especially if you're trying to push Sleeper Cell up the board or something of that nature. However, what I would recommend, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. What I'm going to recommend. What world? I am trying to. There we go. For anyone looking at the list and going, huh, Austin, what would have helped you in that last game? Particularly with Shriv, with the bus, or either of the buses, honestly, but the Shriv bus specifically. I would have said having the ability to do a third move action, especially at the end of turn 3, which would have another speed 1 would have absolutely gotten Shriv at range 3 of my 2 rebels to not only shut down one of his VPs from his breakthrough, because they were actually panicked. They had 2 suppression. And it's range 3 is the courage check, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So because Shriv was not at range 3, I had 2 rebel troopers panic on his point, and they weren't contesting.
Hmm.
There's this lovely 6-point upgrade called the Unstable R5 Astromech.
Ah.
That would have enabled me to move Shriv again to then be at range 3 of those rebel troopers and not only deny him a VP, but get me 2 more. So that would have been a 3-point swing. And all you have to do to the list is drop. So I've toyed with the idea. You keep everything the same. You drop all of the captains, and you can replace them with just rebel troopers. There's something I like about 6-man squads, personally. You drop all the captains, and then you have one squad with just the SX-21.
Okay.
But you can put both unstable astromechs on the speeder trucks, and then you get another impact grenade on the fleet troopers. So, you needed to free up 12 points from the list, and that's pretty much how you do it. And you're still at 12 activations. I'd keep everything the same, honestly. And the unstable astromechs just really, really give you the objective play that you might need on, especially those longer, scattered objectives, like breakthrough, where it's 2 over here on this side of the table, 2 over here on this side of the table. A triple move bus can let's see, 4 and 9. So yeah, you can move like almost range 4 with 3 moves. So you got to be range 7 of some troopers if you're trying to just like give them a courage bubble, and that is definitely a play that I would like to have in the back pocket. So for the most part, that's kind of the surprise there is if you're planning on trying out this list, check it out with the unstable astromech. They're pretty solid, pretty good. And
Yeah.
you
I would have
just
never
drop the
thought about that.
captains. Yeah, you just drop the captains for regular rebel. I mean, you don't even have to go regular rebel troopers in the just personnel. You could go 5-man rebel squad for 53 points. It's not. I mean, you got 21 points to work with. I don't know what else you really do. I guess you could put a gun on the buses, but
That's what I was going to ask.
yeah, I have found more times than not I've needed the buses to double move more times than anything else. Even if I did have a gun on the bus, there may have been one time this entire weekend I would have shot, and it's when I was already ahead. You know,
Hmm.
um,
So I'm assuming then you don't care about the medic on the bus.
I would consider a medic potentially, but I just don't like those actions of double move, especially since you can't displace anymore. You have to get really crafty with your movement actions. And sometimes you need a double move to find that perfect spot. So you could theoretically, you could take, I guess you could put 2 captains in 2 of the squads, and then you got 3 points left over. Is there a 3-point upgrade that you just throw on somewhere?
Well, what about keeping the astromech and adding the medic so that you still get 2 moves technically and then a heal?
Yeah, yeah, that's worth considering too. Healing Luke is good. Um, if you're having to heal sleeper cell or fleet troopers, that's typically you want your heals on like your red save units just because they're harder to kill. Not to say that it's not useful on other types of units, but I think you could go that route, or you've basically got 21 points to play with of like what I call free points. Kind of flavor it out to your liking. Uh, I think the impact grenades on fleet troopers are really good. Gives them a range 2 impact threat. Where they can double move, charge, and they're throwing 2 red, 6 white, and a black with impact 4. So you get 1 crit and then 4 hits potentially. That's like average. Um, you're looking at 5 saves into armor with Pierce 1. There's nothing out there that really wants to make 5 saves. Pierce 1, and so I think the fleet troopers are pretty solid there. The captains only really came into play like I think I used them 3 times the entire weekend. I used them twice in the game against Michael. Used one squad had to do it to double move, and then another squad had to do it round 4 to double move. Um, Other than that, I think the captains could go either way. You don't necessarily need them, but you basically have 21 points to play with after you add the unstables, and then you can go from there. So for anyone that's interested in potentially trying out this rebel list, I think this is the 2.6 of Luke and the cavalry. So
Yeah, because I was going to ask. I think. Do you think buses are worth it in 2.6? But I think they are.
oh yeah,
Um,
they're good. They're good. The other
and
option
then
too with 21 points, you could just go let me see, R4 astromech. R4 astromech. Yeah, you could just go 2 more astromechs. So you got 4 repair bots for your buses. Buses aren't probably not dying anytime soon. You know, so
yeah,
that's an option you have as well. You lose a little bit of offensive firepower, but that's another option you have too. Oh, and then you could actually put Ryder Azadi on. You got exactly 5 points. I would maybe consider that putting 2 repair astromechs, so you have 2 fleets with the scatter gun, R5, and impact. You have 2 rebel troopers with the SX-21 and the R5 astromech. 2 rebel troopers with just the SX-21. 3 sleepers with the astromech. A truck with rider, unstable onboard comms. A truck with Shriv, unstable onboard comms. And then Luke with burst push mind trick into the fray.
hmm.
This might be the magnum opus.
I was
If
gonna
I had
say. I
to,
think
if I had,
you'll wind up perfecting it soon.
maybe might need to run it by the rebel deity that is Brian Bear. He'll know the answer. Master Bear will know the answer. But
Um,
yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting there. I'm also looking at a lot of other options for other factions like CIS and Empire, and I think people are sleeping on Empire, not you know as like the best faction in the game, but they definitely got some options. I think.
yeah, I've been trying to come up with a lot of different Empire lists, but it's a little tough, especially since not everything is released yet, and we know that some units are going to get a big change, like Callus, and so I'm interested to see because I really like his 2-pip too, and it really flows well
Yeah,
with like even some bounty hunter stuff, or if you don't have
yeah.
a force user, just allowing you to shut down something for the next turn. I think one thing is why I was going to ask you is why did you pick Rebels for this tournament?
Um, well, because my dad and I over Christmas break painted up sleeper cells together, and he was like, I was just playing with him, and he was like, "Well, if you need to borrow mine, you can," because I only had 2 and he had 1. It's like, all right, we'll see. I played a game, and I was like, man, these guys are undercosted. And I was like, well, I'm either going Luke or Vader, and I don't know. I've had some good luck with Rebels, and I played a local against it was like an 18 activation bus Leia Vet Mark II spam with triple sleepers. And I was playing like Vader, Krennic, Death Troopers, Dewbacks, T-21 Storm specialists, and then like three scouts, three snipers, and I got absolutely rocked. Now, if we had gotten into round five, I think I would have cleaned up and it would have swung like 5-0 on the VPs, and I would have won by one.
Hmm.
That's at least the suspected uh, outcome. But at that point, I realized I'm like, man, Rebels might be the jam. And now they've won PAX, they won LVO. 6 of the top 8 were Rebels.
Yeah.
Rebels are here to stay. You know, they're rocking. So I don't know. Part of me also wants them to get nerfed before Worlds, so I don't have to do sleeper cell. But they might not, so might have to play them. Yeah,
Yeah, with the schedule, I don't think they'll reduce it until afterwards.
yeah. Bring your commandos. Bring your high velocity. Which I think and that was why I would. That was, to tie that back into the first game against Bushman. Was there a particular list or player that I didn't want to play against? That list, I did not want to play against 3 commandos and or Bad Batch, let alone and or Yoda and Chewie, let alone all 3 of them together, because
Mm.
Yoda and Chewie can like outmuscle Luke. Um, Bad Batch can just murder whatever they want, and then commandos can just, especially Delta, they can just shred my core, and it's not what I was trying to deal with. Now, the
Hey,
one
wait.
saving grace with playing against commandos as rebels is that um, if they're like commandos are not notoriously mobile, they don't have a lot of action economy, so
Mm,
you can try to beat them on that, and it just turns into a push everything forward. And can we survive? Can Luke hold the line long enough? Oh,
hmm. And I think the last thing that I at least wanted to make sure to ask was objective stuff. Now, I know I've gotten a request to ask about the new objective structure, and if you think it's better than or worse than Legacy Legion. Maybe if you could go back, would you? Or because you've been playing objectives now for a long time, at least all year for sure. And I wasn't sure if, well, over the course of the last like year, I wasn't sure if you had maybe any objectives that you want to bring back. Maybe the way the objectives are picked could
yeah.
be changed. I mean, what are your thoughts on the way that we do objectives now? I should say, I guess then.
Um, I I like. I don't want to say like there's always the nostalgic part of me where I do miss the old turn zero. Uh, it was like, you get the 4 card flop and then pause for dramatic effect. They do the deployments. Now you do the conditions. Like that was always really cool. You still have like the same idea when you're doing a flop in this. A lot of the objectives are fairly similar, in that, hey, stand on this point at half range. You know, like I'm sure you'll hear some people just go, yeah, they're all intercept. Um, which to their point, yeah, in its most fundamental form, yeah, it's stand on a point, be near it, and whatever. However, they do have dynamic potential. Like shifting priorities is actually a very dynamic objective. Um, Close the pocket is essentially the new KP for the most part. It's like, okay, get my home, get your home, and then we fight over the middle, kind of. Um, I I I like Legion wherever it's going as long as it makes sense. And I understand, AMG wants to take over. this game as their it's their product, it's their baby now, and I'm I'm happy with what they've done with it. They're keeping the game alive, they're supporting it, they're, I hope that they do maybe pay some homage to some of the older objectives, like Hostage Exchange was a really cool, unique one that I think just needed a couple little, like, tweaks to keep some of the nuance from, affecting the gameplay a little bit. I think it just needed a couple little tweaks. Payload was a really cool objective. What's the other one? Recover the supplies was also really cool. There's not really an objective like recover the supplies where it's like, hey, go run and pick this stuff up and then try to hold on to it. um, so before I can answer that question fully, I kind of want to see what the culmination of all of 2.6 is, because I highly doubt that AMG is done releasing objectives, primaries, secondaries, advantages, and things like that. But as it sits right now, yeah, I'm not I'm somewhat impartial. I just want to play Legion. Uh, whatever form that comes in, that's what I'll play. Um, were there things I liked about 2.0 Legion more? Yeah, sure. Were there things I liked about that I like about 2.6 more? Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I try to just take everything on a case by case basis. And one thing I will say about this set of objectives is they could be a little bit more dynamic as opposed to just, okay, hey, sit here and it's either a contest or a secure. So you do get a little bit of dynamic play from, okay, I just have to sit here versus no, I actually have to win this. Um, and that's why I think it's a little excessive to say everything is intercept because, well, on intercept you kind of had to win. Some of these you don't have to win. So like, it's not quite every game's intercept. But I see the point that people are getting at. But I have confidence in AMG. I remember talking to Will Pagani at Worlds last year, just very briefly, and just telling them, thank you for all they do for the game. And it looks like Legion's got a bright future. And he just looks at me and shakes his head. And he says, yes, it has a very bright future. Um, so
That's good.
I'm gonna trust that his subtle head shake indicates yes, it has a very bright future. And just keep playing the game as much as I can. I don't get a whole lot of free time during the school year, and most of the free time I get is allocated to playing Legion. So that should speak volumes of what I think about the game. And yeah,
Yeah, because I'd say that you're
what
probably
about
one
you?
of the better players out there. Um, I mean,
Maybe
period. I mean, that
we'll
especially
see how this. We'll
from
see how
Crucible to
Worlds
this
goes.
one. Hey, I think you're gonna do well. I mean,
We'll see. We'll see. Gotta stay focused. Gotta figure out what I want to do. Don't want to have a repeat of last year. Lose the first game and then to claw my way back in. I do like the heat system this year because, it looks like they're gonna have the same thing with draws where if you got to play 4 rounds, the 3-0s are gonna walk up and be like, yeah, draw, draw, draw. Like it looks like we're gonna have that same thing again. But like I'm there to play Legion. It's I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes though. Got to figure out what I want to play, what I'm in, and that's part of the thing with Legion for me is like I won't necessarily play like an optimized list or like I don't think I would ever play a bad list intentionally in a tournament, but at the end of the day, feeling good about the list I'm playing, feeling fun and thematic, like that's what helps drive me to play better is it's like do I feel like I'm in the list, am I one with the list.
meditate with the list. Like
Yes,
visualize everything.
yes, feel the list around you,
Well,
let it flow through you.
yeah, let it flow into winning constantly,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Um, well, yeah. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the talk. It's
yeah,
definitely
thanks for having me.
nice. Yeah, of course. It's nice to hear how Rebels have changed from nobody wanting to play them to now being in
Mm,
basically the top of every tournament.
yeah,
Um, And
Sleeper cells really really propelling them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If sleeper cell doesn't get nerfed, we might see a lot of rebels, or at least people are going to start teching against rebels, and then that opens up the all right. This is the meta. This is the counter meta. Now, are you going to counter the counter meta? Ooh, and then the people that are really playing 5D chess, are you going to counter the counter to the counter meta? Ooh, and then we really start thinking.
yeah, we're going into
And
a
then
rabbit
we
hole
see
there.
some yeah, then we see some, obscure, like who knows what type of lists, and then it's just, but yeah, I'm excited to see. I don't, there are a couple of major events. I mean, if Rebels keep putting on a performance, people definitely need to be prepared for Rebels, and just kind of know what they do when they come to Worlds.
Okay. Well, I'm rooting for you, man. I hope that you do
Thanks,
really well at Worlds, and I'm going to
thanks.
be trying to keep an eye out for you.
Yeah, well, keep me updated on your secret, or
Yes.
whenever you divulge your surprise. Keep me updated, keep me in the loop, and we might be having some Jacksonville events, maybe one before Worlds, but I'll let you know if you can make it over. We'll
Yeah.
be at the same place, so we're gonna try
Okay.
to get maybe one before Worlds. So, and then also, I don't know if you've spoken with Endless at all, but there's he's I think he's keeping applications open for like another week or so for the World Team Championship in Sheffield, UK. So
Woo.
there's kind of like a region based thing going on where you've got like the North, Midwest, kind of all on one squad, and then you've got like Southeast to like Mid South, and then you've got like West Coast, like west of the Mississippi. You know,
No, I haven't. When is that supposed to happen?
he's it is May 24th and 25th, so it's that weekend.
Okay.
And I know he's looking for some other players too. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Well,
we're
yeah, I'll have to ask him about it and try to
yeah,
fill out that application
yeah,
soon.
yeah. Send in an application. Requirements are pretty minimal. You'll just play Legion, commit to going, and have a Longshanks account. So so anyone that wants to can apply, and I think he's sending out like a flyer or something. So if you want to support that on your page too, let your viewers know. Um, World Team Championship 2025, May 24th, 25th. That's a thing over in Sheffield, UK.
I'll try
It was
to.
a fun time last year.
Well, I was gonna say I think I saw it on stream. 'Cause, I think what That's a Moon podcast. I think tried to stream it.
Yep, yep, yep. That was in Granada last year, so that was arguably the most fun Legion tournament. It was quite fun. And
Man.
whatever you do, don't let the Brits, these guys right here, don't let them bring you out past 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. You won't. I think we made it home at like 7 a.m. And
Oh
then
God.
we had about 10 minutes. I took a 10-minute nap in the shower and then played another 12 hours of Legion. It was bad.
Oh
It
God.
was bad. Those guys live off of Jaeger bombs.
Okay. All right. That I can do. I can handle that. That's something that's nice. They taste
It's
so
like
good.
the more of them they drink, the more powerful they become.
It's like their energy source, their
Yeah.
chi.
Yes, that is their chi.
Um,
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks a lot. And let me know about the tournament or just a thing going on in Jacksonville. And yeah,
Yeah,
good luck at Worlds if I don't see you other than that.
yeah. I'm sure we'll be in touch, but yeah, I appreciate it. We'll try to make a good push this year. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, that is it, everybody. Thanks for watching and thanks for being here, man.
Thanks. See ya.
Yep. See ya.